Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. So far in our tutorials, we had seen how to use AngularJS into our project. We had a discussion on manually installing the AngularJS and doing the same by using the CDN as provided by their official website. We had a detailed discussion on what should be the root directory structure of the project that we had created in this purpose. Well, in this tutorial, we will be now looking into the module, the controller and the view structure of AngularJS, how to create them into our project and how to use them in an accordance to create complex functions and interactivity into our project. Stay tuned. Now in doing so, the module, it practically serves as a container that holds all the different segments of our application like the controller, the directives, the filters, etc. So in an order to use the controller and the view, that means in an order to use the model approached application into our project, the very first and the very basic thing is to create the module. So let's hop into our project and see in a step-by-step sequential manner how to use the MVC structure. Now we can see that in this extreme left panel, here goes the custom.js folder that we had created into the root directory, and here in the first case, we will be creating a new file which we will be naming as custom.script.js. So this is a JavaScript file that we had practically created here, and we had created it under this custom.js folder inside our root directory. So the basic and the obvious thing is, first we need to create the module section here. And in doing so, the first thing that we are going to do, let's name it as creating the module section, and here let's create a variable which we will be naming as my app. Now this is the variable where we will be using a definite function such as .module. Sorry, this is not module, this is module. Now this is the module function into this Angular object. And this individual function, it requires two parameters. The first one is the name of the modular section that we had created. So we will be naming it as new module. And in the second case, we will be needing to create the dependencies inside this particular module that we had created. Now, a module can practically make usage of another controller, or it might be depending upon some different kind of modules in some later cases, but right now we will be keeping this place empty. So that is why we will be using this empty array right over here. So here goes both the parameters. The first one is the new module, and this is the name has been provided by us, and the second one is the empty parameter. Now let's press Ctrl S, and right now we had created the module for our project. We need to make usage of the controller that we will be creating. So the very obvious second step is to create the controller section. So we will be naming it as creating the controller section, and here once again we will be creating another variable which we'll be naming as, for say, my controller. Now, as usual, as we had said previously, that controller is nothing but a set of JavaScript function or functions. So in that particular case, we need to create a JavaScript function here. We are about to create a function. We will be using this function here, and inside this function we will be using a parameter which is known as scope. So what is this individual scope item right over here? So the scope is an Angular object that is passed to the controller function by the framework itself. We attached the model to the scope object, which shall then be available in the view. Within the view, we are using the data binding expression as seen earlier to retrieve the data from this $scope object and display. So we have created this $scope object right over here. We will be making usage of it, and we will be now creating the model section by attaching the property to this object, which has a definite value which is known as hello cruel world. So this is practically the value that we are passing on into this message property, which is binded now with the object, and this is together known as the model section, which will be later passed on to the view section and displayed into our HTML browser. So right now we have created the controller, and we had created this module section, and now let's register the module along with the controller that we had created. And in doing so, the first thing that we are going to do, we'll be using this individual module name here. So we are using it, and then we will be attaching the controller to it. So like as seen in the previous segment, this controller function, it practically uses two parameters into it. The first one is the name provided by the user, which will be used in the view section, that means into this index.html page. And the second thing is the name of the controller that we had provided in this earlier occasion. So we had created this name here. First we need to copy it and we need to make usage of it right over here, and we will be providing a definite name to it. So I am naming it as the new controller. There it goes. So we have practically successfully registered the controller with the module that we had created earlier right over here. Now we need to make this thing appear into the view section. So let's head back to this index.html